And I'm Melanie Yvette. Welcome to Ebony Live. I'm so sorry. We were supposed to do our live today, ladies, Rebecca and Patrice. But thank you so much for joining Ebony to talk about the amazing, I feel just like really impactful. I watched a few of the episodes. So, I got the lucky chance to watch Aretha, which will be debuting this weekend on National Geographic, and essentially, telling the real untold stories about, Aretha and her genius, and, really diving into the Queen of Soul's livelihood and her life and her upbringing. And you both play her sisters. I found that to be so interesting that they really dove into what it was like being the sister, the bigger sister and a younger sister to Aretha, but also being her, they travel with. I keep saying that you were with Aretha, but you both embody the role so well. I was just like, it's real, it's real, but you really stepped into those roles. And I wanted to know, what was it like actually learning more about the women behind Aretha and the women who helped raise her, and stepping into, their energy and really just like their legacy.
They
Well,
were like
you go.
they were like a sisterhood warrior tribe. Like they took care of their sister. They had her back for real, as a background singer. Both of Carolyn and Irma served as her background singers. And then also just having her back through all the things that she went through in her life. Like what a multifaceted, complex, and obstacle-filled life she had. Her sisters were literally always there to have her back while she was away. Took care of her children, took care of business, made sure like maybe that's too much for my sister. I spoke up for her. They were truly like a tribe of warriors for each other.
And I want to, Rebecca, obviously hear your response, but Patrice, you particularly played her older sister, and I won't give away obviously any spoilers, but there's an episode where there's a very intense moment between Aretha, young Aretha, and your character, Irma. And how did it feel to have to step into that and actually know that you're playing a role of someone who comforted the Queen of Soul? Like that was a very intense moment that people will see this weekend as her older sister.
Yeah, I am an older sister of a little sister, and that's my baby. Like sometimes she'll be like, "You're not my mom,"
You're like,
still
"Oh,
today.
yeah."
I actually am your
I
mom. And I just think that's what it is. Like, but she acts like a daughter to me sometimes too, though, and we're only like 5 years apart. In fact, most people think we're twins or way closer than that in age, but I just naturally want to nurture her all the time. That's like my baby sister, and she followed in my footsteps in a lot of ways, in the business and just kind of in life. And so being, sisters that had the same dreams, we share that. I share that with my sister too, but like sharing dreams and aspirations, and for it to be such a big dream and then to see it realized, like there's nobody that gets it more than your sister who's been there every single step of the way, so it was a pleasure to step into, and I hope that it inspires sisters even more, because sisters can be all kinds of, have different types of relationships, but it's Women's History Month. We ain't got time for that. Like, let's bring in the sisterhood and the love.
I love that. I love that response. And I want to come back to something you said, but Rebecca, I would love to know, what was it like playing a younger sister to, the Queen of Soul? What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was really interesting. And I think sort of in a way, I really felt sort of the opposite stuff. Unfortunately, it's like, as Patrice was saying, as Patrice was saying, actually, like, these sisters, she and Patrice and her real life sister share dreams with each other. And these sisters in Genius Aretha, they also shared the same dreams. Irma and Carolyn both had their own solo careers that they really had success, but it just never reached the level that Aretha's did. And they were constantly compared to her. And I think that's what really kept them from having their own careers. And if they hadn't been her sisters, perhaps their careers would have really popped off more. And I think that's where we see some of the conflict in the episodes, insofar as these sisters did share dreams, and that is really sacred. And so I think when that bond is broken in some ways, it can really hurt in a deep way. But as Patrice said, it's Women's History Month. We don't have time for that.
Listen, it's funny, I'm a little sister and we're both Virgos and we're just so similar and opposite at the same time. And I'm like, I'm your big sister. Play with my sisters. I totally get where Patrice is coming from. And then obviously, Rebecca, I get your perspective too. And I'm I'm the youngest child, but my sister is like the middle child who acts, she's my young sister. So I really think it's interesting that the dynamic that they put a light on in terms of this sisterhood between Aretha and Irma and Carolyn. And I actually wanted to speak to that, Rebecca, because Carolyn had a very interesting dynamic with Aretha. Given that her solo career, I mean, they both absolutely had solo careers, but Carolyn had a very interesting dynamic with Aretha because hers didn't kick off. Did you, were you shocked to learn that? Because I was actually shocked while watching the series that was a kind of staunch between them in a way. I didn't know that they were actually going through that. What was that like for you?
I was shocked too. I really was shocked because for everything that I had read about and researched, mm-hmm. and all of the material that we had been given, in the show prior to this moment that I think you're talking about, you get to see Carolyn as the peacemaker in the family and the supporter. And it felt like, and I think this was true, I think she was really happy to be a support system for Aretha. And I think she was happy to be a backup singer. She loved music and performing. And then I think, she just kept trying to get her solo career to jump off. And then she really had this one massive opportunity and it got pulled out from under her. And Patrice has heard me say this before, but when I first read the script in which this particular thing happened to Carolyn, I cried. I could not believe how unfair it was. And I can only imagine how she felt as somebody who was super talented and had so much to give and to share with the world, that this had really selfishly been taken away from her.
And Patrice, I would love to hear your perspective on that too, but one of the things is you are talented actresses and singers and all of your glory. There is and has been a very weird energy of women in general just being successful, particularly in the entertainment industry for decades, right? And feeling like there can only be one or what have you, in whatever respect. But that moment that, we're speaking of, Rebecca, was also very shocking to me because there was a sisterhood there that was established, that you see in the series. And, not to give away anything, but I do believe that it kind of shifted the way I saw, just the whole totality of, the Queen of Soul of Aretha's story. And not in a bad way. It was just amazing to know that there were layers to why she had to work the way she had to work. She had to be as strong as she had to be. She had to stand up for herself, towards her father. Like, she really did have to, I think, be strong and tough in ways I didn't think she expected to. And so it kind of, in my opinion, watching the series affected her sisters and how much she felt she could do or wanted to do. You know what I mean? And I wonder how you both feel about that, just being in this industry, wanting to help, but you just have to, you really have to get to a place where, as women, you're doing enough for yourself, but you're not exhausting yourself. How did you feel about that interaction of sisters, as she got older in her career, matured in her career? Do you relate to it in any way or anything?
Yeah, I think this series in general is so relatable to so many people, Black families, musical households. A lot of it is similar. But what I am encouraged by from the series, as far as women and the competition in the industry, and, actually was talking about this just the other day. Like, we often sometimes, and I'm even guilty of it myself, like, just for example, we'll be like, who touching Jasmine Sullivan right now? Who can sing better than her? And it's like, why does anybody have to sing better than her?
Everyone.
Why can't she just, why can't she just be great, And I am a big supporter of, like, share, like there's enough for everybody. Like that's my whole don't be a star, be a galaxy motto, meaning and everything. Like there's so much light out here. Like you don't lose anything by supporting somebody else. And I think that the sisters actually got that after time.
Yes.
After time, they got it. It's very clear that it was not understood in different parts of their lives and careers. But I think once they got it,
I was going to say, which is normal. I'm sorry. It's normal to have.
Yeah, totally normal.
They show that with.
Yeah.
Women. I love that.
And they grew up in this industry. They were always in the spotlight. Even before they were, Aretha Franklin and Irma and Carolyn, they were C.L. Franklin's daughters who traveled the country as this like amazing, renowned pastor. So I just think, it took time. Time heals everything, as we know. And once they got it, they got it. And that was very evident.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the style, the glam, because I do think that each era.
We love talking about this.
It's like, let me tell you where to start. I mean, glam, even with the makeup and simplicity of it, even when it was dramatic, it was just so different. I mean, the hair, the style, everything. Tell me, what was that experience?
Yes. Well, the team was stacked. We just, like the easiest way to put it is like we felt taken care of. Like we knew no matter what we were going to do, we were going to look good. And as Patrice has also pointed out to me so many times, like we felt comfortable too. We didn't feel like we looked good and we were like stuffed into these clothes, and they're vintage clothes. And they just, Jennifer Bryant and our Marietta and our all of our, our makeup team, our hair team, our wigs and our costumes, they were just on point. And, it just does so much for you as an actor when you put on the clothes and you see the character suddenly, like sometimes it really just fills in the blanks in a way that you didn't even expect.
It does. We felt so fly. The clothes are so good. We can't wait for you to see them. And I also just think it's important to note, like, especially because it's Women's History Month, that all of these departments that we talk about, the wig department, hair department, makeup department, and clothing, was all led by Black women.
Wow.
Every single last one. Yep.
I love to hear that. And that's, I feel as though, and I remember reading an article about the lighting on the show Insecure, but I feel as though we get it, we see it, we understand it. That's why we should be present. Black women need to be in these spaces, because behind the scenes, because we pick up on things. I've noticed just in, I guess I could say movies where the lighting is so perfect. I just know there was a Black woman or Black man, but like a Black person behind there,
Somebody got it.
Sure they look good. So that's so amazing to hear, because that the heart and soul is put into it. What was it individually, the process to step into these characters? Patrice, if you want to go first, what was that experience? Did you have a routine? Did you have something that you do every day?
What's so cool, a couple of things just kind of happened naturally. Like Rebecca and I just like became sisters instantly, and we are sisters, and most of the work that we do on the show is together. We were always there together. Like I would say 90% of the time we were together. So that was an excellent piece of doing the work behind it. For me personally, I was a background singer for Jennifer Hudson and Stevie Wonder, and lastly, Christina Aguilera. And so I had this background singing.
Please.
I guess so. I had this background singing experience. I was trying to like zip past it because we're trying to talk about Riri, but
that you are that one.
But like I had that experience, and I know how important it is.
Right.
And then when I got the role, I had been friends with this woman named Allie Willis, who was from Detroit, and was friends with the Franklin family and created all the songs that we love on earth. Although she's this white woman who I don't think identified with being white at all, but she like created all the Earth, Wind and Fire songs that we love. Like she was amazing. And I told her that I booked it, and she said, do you know anything about Irma Franklin? And she started sharing some stories with me from her experiences with the Franklin family, but also she shined some light on her career. And this is one of my favorite fun facts about Irma Franklin, is that she originated a song that we all love by Janis Joplin called Piece of My Heart.
I read it on your Instagram. And
yes.
What? That is so crazy. See, that's why I love this series, because it dives into like those nuanced details that I don't think a lot of Black women in particular get, their praises for, and it matters.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. And it's such a full circle moment for you to have, a family friend close to the Franklin family. That's so cool.
Yes, it was so good.
That's amazing. Rebecca, what about you? Was there any routine or anything you did, any mantras to like tap into?
Well, you know what I thought was really helpful is that Anthony Hemingway, our amazing executive producer and many-time director of most of the episodes, was so smart in the very, very beginning when we first started the shoot. He really reminded us that this is above all like a musical Black household, and like they were the kind of family who sang around the table together and who created together, and that really helped me remove Aretha and the family from some kind of pedestal in my mind. Because she will always be an idol, and she will always be this star in the galaxy, to put it in Patrice's language. But for our work purposes, like I had to know her personally. I had to know her deeply. I had to see her as a real person with flaws. And that was so helpful to me, because it just made me relate it to my own life and who I am, and, singing with my father around the piano. And so I think that helped quite a bit. And honestly, I would just echo what Patrice said. I think it helped so much that we lucked out and really became so close so quickly, because it made you feel comfortable and relaxed and that familial feeling.
And I can see the dynamic between you two in the series. So, but honestly, a lot of times people don't want to talk about that because you want to play nice, but honestly, everyone doesn't get it. It doesn't always click in everything we watch, and it clicked between you two. It wasn't forced. It was very real and authentic. So I get where you're coming from. I definitely see that in the series, Rebecca.
Thank you. Yeah, that's my boo.
That's my boo.
I'll pull up for Rebecca. Don't play with Rebecca.
Okay, I will pull up.
Exactly.
I don't want to take too much more of your time, ladies, but I do want to ask, you each individually, like, what was, if anything, something that maybe shifted how you looked at your work moving forward after completing this like amazing project, if you would share.
So this was my very first time on TV ever.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. That was another reason why we, I think, clicked so well, because I was like, I got to be babied as the first time being on TV person. And I just was held so closely by Rebecca and Courtney B. Vance, our dad. Like, who doesn't want to be led by him? Washington, and all theater people. So it made me feel comfortable, because that I know. But I took beyond that, just being kind and loving and being as great as you can to the cast, but also I was inspired by activism, by Aretha's activism. And because I was one who last year, when everyone wanted to do more as an activist, I kind of struggled with well, what do I do? I'm not a marcher, because I'm not going out there while they throwing stuff, and shooting stuff. And I'm not a poster of historical facts. What do I do? Because I got to do something. But then I realized what we did, Rebecca, is activism. We got to share this story, which is ultimately going to inspire people to activate their activism. I think doing what you do through art is more than enough. Just do what you do. And so I take that very seriously now. And it gave me great encouragement.
I love that. I love that saying, doing what you do through art is enough. I do think a lot of Black creatives particularly don't know if creating is enough, if it's in vain, or, you know, I love that you said that, because I've seen so many people on social media wonder, like, am I doing enough?
Yeah.
What can I do? What can I post? What can I create? And I love that you affirm creatives like yourself that it is enough, and that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca,
Yeah,
what did you
especially.
think, or did this project shift you in any way to work different or live different?
Yeah, well, I think funnily enough, in a work person way, I had a similar. Oh, sorry, my phone is giving me notifications. Um, in a similar way, but like in terms of my actual acting work, I had a similar feeling to Patrice, which was like, I think that for a lot of the time I was, trying to like just dissect every single beat and every single word and try to make it as, natural as possible. But the truth is, you can't manipulate that. You can't overanalyze that. You can't overthink it, because then you'll sort of come out on the other end.
Right.
And so I think, echoing what Patrice said, actually a lot of what I learned was to just like know that the work is there,
Mm-hmm.
and let it come naturally, and know that I am enough.
I love that. I love it. And I think a lot of Black women are coming into a moment of reassuring ourselves, particularly during quarantine. A lot of us just sat still and said, okay, we have to do this over. We have to reshift everything. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of like self-love, those conversations that I've seen, over the past year. So, what you experienced, Rebecca, is so relevant. I think another,
Yeah.
Black woman who isn't even a creative, just another Black woman hearing you say that would understand, because that has been the conversation for us, and just knowing we're enough.
It happens.
It's enough going on in the world. We can be as is and feel good.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Because I remember when the world, like the first time the world sort of like vomited over the summer, when the protests were happening and everybody was, going through it at the same time. I remember just like feeling the way Patrice felt, a little bit like stunted. And I remember just like lying in bed, crying,
Me too.
and just like trying to figure out how to sort of see things in a new way. Like I almost felt like I was allowed to look at my own personal history and things that had been said to me for the first time, because I had never allowed myself to really take them in, because otherwise I would have fallen apart,
I experienced something like that too, and it was a breakdown that a best friend of mine told me it would become a breakthrough. So I totally understand that, and I remember having that feeling last time. I felt very empty, and it's hollow. Like, what happens? What is enough? I totally remember that, Rebecca. I really do. And obviously it seems as though it shifted something, and you woke up something in you. And if you want to speak to that, because you seem like that opened your eyes to a different world of how you could maneuver.
Well, I have to say, I think that's the part of me that is so grateful for this pause that the world has been forced to take, because I think it's so easy as women, and particularly as Black women, to just like hold a lot on our shoulders and give to other people and try to show up and be the best and be, all things for all people at all times, to sort of, I don't know, because somehow we've been conditioned to believe that we have to do that to prove something.
Yep, exactly.
And so, I've just been trying to pay more attention to what I really feel and not distract myself with things. But it's a journey. It's a journey, because it's so easy to be complacent.
And it's so easy to act like everything's okay.
Yes.
I felt like for the longest I was walking around like this, until one day I was like, forget it, like I can't do it, and I just, crumble. Patrice, you're shaking your head like I get it. Like, did you do something similar? She's like, listen, let me tell you, it's so much. And you both are in a world of entertainment where you're being seen. It's not even just like crying in the background. Like, you can't, you have to show up in a different way. Patrice, like, you have any experience? feeling that way too?
Yeah, all the experiences for sure. But I think now, like, I've been focusing on boundaries, and I'm actually inspired a little bit by the Franklin family with that, with the like boundaries and knowing my value and okay to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
uh, saying no, raising my price, you know,
Raise them
all of those
free.
things. Okay, raise my rate, boo. But just like exactly. And we know, like, we've heard many times, we've seen her put her purse on the pocketbook and wear her meat coat. Like, know that I'm very rich and I got my money before I came out here to do this show for y'all. I like that. Like, that's very bossy, and that a lot of us are too afraid to raise our price. Like, I know many times people are like, okay, well, what's your fee? And I'm like, what should I charge? What should I charge to a friend? And I'm like, no, the friend is not the one that's got to pay the rent. That's me. How much should I charge for me and my value?
Mm-hmm.
And no, it might take me 5 minutes to do it, but you're not paying for the time. You're paying for the fact that I can do it and you can't. So, like, it's value, like knowing my value and just not stepping away from that, holding it down.
You ladies are so inspiring. Like, you were the perfect, no, honestly, you were perfect for this role, but just in general, your presence is inspiring. And
yeah,
I feel like it goes beyond just, the characters that you play. This is who you are in real life. And I think that exudes through in the series. And a lot of people this weekend, they'll get to see that. I really was taken aback just by the dynamic of her sisters. I really was. It's a lot of times you're watching something and obviously Aretha's a star, but you just get a moment or a glimpse into a different aspect of someone's life who you've always admired, and you both playing her sisters who really helped mold and shape her career. It was perfect casting, full circle for you, Patrice, having, a
full
family
circle
friend with the Franklins. But yeah, you both been so inspiring. And I just want to say thank you. Ebony is so excited about this premiere. I love that, there's a different perspective being shown, not just the typical, story of a legend. And two Black women who are really thoroughly engaged in the activism and in the music and in the creativity of Aretha, and just like Black music in general, Black creativity. So it's been amazing talking to you. I mean, if there's anything you want to, let the Ebony audience know, if they can find you, Patrice and Rebecca, I already follow you because I love you both. But if they follow you on Instagram, let them know your Instagram. And, obviously, Ebony family, check out the series this Sunday on National Geographic, and it'll be on Hulu the next day, but it's premiering this Sunday. But yeah, let the audience know they can find you,
Yes, Ebony magazine audience. First of all, I love Ebony. Like, I used to collect the covers when I was a little girl. And I remember when Aretha was in it many times. Like, I'm so excited to do this interview with you. So thank you for having me. But yes, guys, ladies and guys, you can find me at Patrice Covington on Instagram.
Rebecca, where can we follow you and like all your pictures?
Yes, you can look at all my pics on at One Rebecca Jones, and that's spelled out ONEREBECCAJONES. And I too am so thankful that you had us here with you.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. It's an honor to speak with you both. I'm so inspired by you both, and cannot wait for our audience and just everyone to see this weekend's premiere. I think they're going to be blown away. You ladies are just so amazing.